Hello everyone, this is Jeremy and welcome to episode 23 of FTB Infinity Evolved Skyblock mode. The mass fabricator we set up last episode's been running. It is, still running, and over the course of the last about 2 days, it's produced a bit over 16 buckets of UU matter. So I'm going to take one bucket of it. You can't actually carry it in buckets, but you can carry it in IC2 universal fluid cells, and deliver it to our friendly witches here. Please don't store potions on me. This stuff, when you stand in it, gives a regeneration 2 effect, which heals them. And in fact, now that there is a regeneration effect here, I'll probably swap out the witches for villagers again, because villagers don't, splash poison me when I walk near them. It's so much quieter with all the witches dead. So anyways, I just swapped the safari net to a villager one. I can collect all my loot as well and EXP. Really not much of value that witches drop, but now you get villagers. So the villagers get the regen 2 from standing in the UU matter. I might have to do something about them all congregating in the corner, because the UU matter seems to have one block too little flow range. I'm not about to use 4 more source blocks for this stuff. But yeah, now we have our blood more automated. It looks like they still die through regen, or maybe they're dying because they're in the corner for too long. I don't know. Let me fix the corner problem first. I blocked off the corners so that the villagers would get, stuck there, but it looks like they're still not actually receiving the regen effect. I turned off my environment controller down there to make sure that I'm actually getting regen from Sandy and UU matter, and it works. But I think it might actually only give regen to players. So this whole regenerate the villagers plan, not going to work. I guess we're back to using witches. Sorry, villagers. Good thing is, there's nothing inherently wrong with using witches for your life essence. It's just, I don't know, it's more painful to work with if it turns out you have to update settings for whatever reason. But there we have it. We are still generating our life essence automatically. No better than we were before. But now we've saved a bucket of UU matter. So anyways, let's step aside from the magic for a little bit and put this UU matter to work. I would like to work our way towards applied energistics today, and this UU matter will be our key to it. So the applied energistics requires the wrench. That's really the key to all things applied energistics. Once you make it, you can use it to craft the controller and stuff with pretty trivial recipes, all said. The wrench is not consumed except in auto crafting, so we just, do manual crafting instead. Therefore, all we need is to make the wrench. Well, all is perhaps putting it a little bit too simply, but we need 2 ingots of this metal and 2 enriched sonarium. Enriched sonarium, let's pin stuff as we go. It requires iridium reinforced plates and sonarium as the 2 main inputs. Both of these are made with tremendous amounts of RF. So iridium reinforced plates is mostly iridium ore. This other stuff we can already make. Iridium ore is RTG fuel and MOX nuclear fuel plus 80 million RF in an assembly table. And all this stuff is made from plutonium. It's basically 6 plutonium makes 1 iridium ore. So let's take a look at our current plutonium stock here. We have just under 600 of it, which means we can make just under 100 iridium ore, which actually I think it takes 128 iridium ore to make the Sardis Quartz wrench, if memory serves me right. However, we have to do this assembly table recipe. This is 80 billion, right? Yeah, not 800. We have to do this assembly table recipe all those times. Turns out there's an easier way to do it. If we make 1 piece of iridium ore, we can then scan it in our 3D scanner and then print it in our 3D printer, and it's actually rather cheap. So the diamond is 44 millibuckets of UU matter. Off the top of my head here, I'm thinking iridium ore is something like 160-ish. So it's about 4 diamonds per iridium ore. That's a steal, right? But we still have to make our first one. This involves handling of nuclear material, so we have to put on our radiation suit, which unfortunately means we can't fly for the time being. That's alright. So, 1 MOX nuclear fuel, 1 RTG fuel. Well, these are dense iron plates. And then we take our 2 forms of nuclear fuel here, set them up on our assembly table, and let the assembly lasers do their work for a little while. So, make me 1 piece of iridium ore, And I'll be back for this in probably 45-ish minutes, about how long it takes my laser to do 80 million RF. In that time, let's work on the other parts of the wrench, and that is this, at least of the rich Cenarium alloy, and that is the Cenarium itself. So this is made in a molecular transformer by literally pumping a lot of energy into glowstone. I think there's two ways to make it. We can either do the shards. Oh no, so it's the same amount of energy whether you use the shards or the full pieces of glowstone, except this uses less glowstone input. Not that glowstone's difficult. Let's just make the we can just make the full Cenarium piece by itself then. Alright, so this requires the molecular transformer, and I recall that is a bit of a crafting recipe. Yeah, I guess it's not that bad. It's a lot of casings, but we have most of this stuff automated. The only challenge is this MT core. Takes a lot of steps. It also requires something to be done in the assembly table. So let's start this right now. This is, how do I get uranium? Do I just smelt that crusher? Oh, I can, I don't want to smelt that. I can just smelt like uranium dust or something. Okay. Just one small problem. I've been automatically processing all of our crushed uranium ore so that it we purify it and then centrifuge it. I guess our output drawers here is full, but it's resulted in me not having any uranium ore on it. So I need to yoink 2 pieces out of the ore washing plant before they get washed. Come on, uranium. I guess I haven't fed you guys in like the last 2 weeks, so here, enjoy some snacks. Especially you here, sifting uranium for me. I think uranium comes from sand, right? Oh, there's one. Give me more. Come on, more. Thank you. And now we can take advantage of the assemblies table's ability to store progress. So right now we are 17 million RF into our iridium ore. If I just cancel that, it'll put that progress into the radiant uranium and take, you know, a tiny bit out of the iridium ore. But, oh boy, I have a lot of redstone chip systems here. But once I switch it back to iridium ore, the progress remains. Very convenient to be able to interrupt long recipes like that. Alright, make me some of this. And then make me the MT core. And then make me molecular transformer. I love auto crafting. I'm also going to turn off the automated processing of uranium now, because I do need the crushed ore to make more radiant uranium coming up, and the fact that there's a drawer full of 26,000 tiny piles of uranium-235 will last us effectively forever. So we can turn that processing off. Anyways, I put in the recipes to see exactly how much stuff we need to make the Certus quartz wrench. In fact, let's turn pop-up mode on. I need, that's it, 8 Cenarium? 2 Cenarium alloy. I probably missed a recipe somewhere. Yeah, I missed that Cenarium alloy recipe. There we go. So it takes, I'm going to ignore the enhanced Galgadorium metal right now. This is non-trivial, but 60, so I guess it only takes 64 iridium ore, 10 Cenarium. These two things are trivially easy to make in comparison. So let's make our 10 pieces of Cenarium. The iridium, again, once our first one is done, I'll go print copies of it. But for the molecular transformer, it's a EU-powered machine. So place it here. And it might only take energy through the top. Nope, it takes energy any side. Let's give it some glowstone. And much like the molecular, whatchamacallit thing, mass fabricator, I believe it accepts as much energy as you jam into it. So if you want it to run faster, just give it more energy. For now, though, it gets however much energy it gets, which apparently is around 300 EU a tick. So it takes 9 million EU to do one operation, and I'm just going to leave it here and let it do its thing. If I want it to run faster, I can temporarily turn off my mass fabricator, which will cause this to receive, you know, a lot more energy. If we assume that the average energy input to here is about 800 a tick, I honestly don't know what the average is, but if we assume it to be 800 a tick, it'll take it about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes per piece of glowstone to be turned into Cenarium. So nothing to do but wait. Thankfully, as a expert mode pack, waiting is what this pack is all about. I'm glad expert modes have largely decided that waiting is not great gameplay, but for now, that's what it is. And there is something you can do about it, right? If you want to wait less, you can just make more power. But there's other things we have to do. So we will soon have our iridium. In fact, let's check on that really quick. Probably hasn't gotten very much further, up to 30 million. All right, that'll take another half hour. I guess the only thing left to do is work on this enhanced Galgadorium metal. Oopsies, that unpinned it. So we need 2 ingots of this. Might sound simple, but it's not. We need, that is 2 large clumps. I believe that's the only way to make it. Right, I don't think we can directly, we can't make the blocks directly. So 2 large clumps, which is 18 regular clumps. So it's a bunch of this recipe. Diamonds easy, redstone easy, stabilized metal. I believe this is just iron, diamonds, and obsidian. It's not bad. But here's where it gets bad. These eyes of Galgador. So for 18 lumps, we need 27 eyes. That's going to require a fermented spider eye farm. I guess we get spider eyes from our mob farm, sugar from our mob farm. We need mushrooms from somewhere. I don't know, I'm going to get a lot of mushrooms. And we need a lot of magma cream, which we can either transform with blaze powder. Do we have a blaze farm? Slime farm? Not yet, right? Maybe it's time to set up a generic mob farm of some sort. It'll be much easier to just like spawn mobs to get these things than to try to craft them. First though, let's encode the various recipes we need so that we can understand exactly how much actual stuff we have to make. No point making a mob farm if it turns out we only need like 2 dozen of the, various inputs. I personally find it much easier to just encode the recipes and let these auto-crafting systems tell us what we're missing than it is to try to figure it out for myself. So, I guess that's not that bad. 52 mushrooms, 32 gas tiers, 108 magma cream. How many gas tiers are in here? Well, there's like halfway there. Maybe I'll set up a drawer system for the output from this sieve so that, it can produce the remaining 20, however many gas tiers we're missing. That way I can avoid having to make a gas farm. Now that I have tons of room to store the output from sieving soul sand, this person, GHB47, will be very busy producing my mostly gas tiers. We're going to have, a super excess of nether quartz. Anyways, convenient side effect of this process, it produces mushrooms. Because as these barrels transform water into witch water, they cause mushrooms to grow nearby. This really isn't an optimal way to farm mushrooms. I'd say the much easier way to farm them is probably to grow the big tall mushrooms and chop those. However, for now, I only need 52 mushrooms, so I can gather them from this quite quickly, I expect. A couple minutes of harvesting mushrooms later, and all that we're missing is gas tiers and magma cream. So I think I should have enough blood in here. Yeah, that should be enough blood that we can just make craft magma cream from blood for now. But later, I'll have to set up a mob farm because we're going to need large amounts of this Galgadorium metal. But that's like very late game stuff. At this point, I'm just playing a waiting game on the Iridium, as well as the Cenarium, and the Eyes of Galgador now, because I just need to wait for a couple more gas tiers. So, while we wait on all that stuff, let's look at the rest of stuff we need to make the ME controller. That is, we need to start making all the various processors, and make a little bit of Skystone. Skystone is a barrel recipe with lava and Skystone dust, so it's kind of like what we're doing here with glowstone and redstone, except with Skystone. So should be quite easy. Kind of cramped here, but I'll set up another, one of these that just automatically produces Skystone. After thinking about it a little bit, we're only going to ever use a couple stacks of Skystone throughout the entire playthrough, so I don't need to set up something fully automated. Just batch crafting it 5 stacks at a time is probably just sufficient. In fact, these 5 stacks are probably the only 5 stacks of Skystone we'll ever use. Unless I guess we want to like decorate the base with it for some reason. Next up then are the processors. Of the 3 types of processors, we're going to need all of them in pretty high quantities. So may as well set up a passive crafting system for all of them. The inscriber is one of the relatively slow machines in applied logistics, and there's no advanced inscriber or anything in this pack. So I'm going to set up a big array of them to do our work. However, we also have to make the various presses. There's 4 different ones, and I think they're all made in a rolling machine. So remember when I made this rolling machine, like on episode 2 or something, to try to make steel plates the wrong way? Well, we're going to put it to use now to actually make something useful. Honestly, this way of making the presses, I prefer it over the vanilla applied energistics way of hunting down meteorites. That can sometimes take like half an hour to get all 4 of them if you're unlucky. And this way, we have all 4 immediately. If I need to make any more too, they can just be duplicated in an inscriber with a block of iron. Well, the recipe for inscribers sure isn't cheap. It takes a resonant frame each. Thankfully, I'm gonna need 9 of them. Thankfully, I think I have 9 resonant frames. Let's see. Nope, I have 7. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to also start crafting more resonant frames. These resonant machine frames are something I should always just have more of than I think I need. For now then, let's start with 7 inscribers. I'll add the last 2 once we have the resonant frames made, but that'll take another, about roughly an hour of laser table work. How about laser table work? Are you done with this yet? You're so close. Last tiny bit of energy to finish our first piece of iridium ore. And there it goes. Alright, so while our laser table works on those resonant frames, let's scan our ore here. So into the scanner it goes. This will destroy the one piece we just made, but it'll produce the pattern for it. Meanwhile, let's begin setting up the inscribers. So I want to have 3 inscribers making silicon molds. So I'll these 2 cobblestone pieces are just placeholders for now. And then 1 inscriber each doing, let's see, well, let's start with the gold one. So gold is logic, pure certus is calculation, right? And diamond is engineering. In order of what you use the most gold, then certus, then diamond. And then 1 last press to put it all together. These presses are strictly sided, so that like the top slot here goes in the top of the machine. The middle slot can only be extracted from one of the sides, and the bottom slot can only be inserted from the bottom. So we're going to have to run a whole lot of item conduit all over the place to get items in and out the right sides of these machines. And our scanner has finished scanning the iridium ore. It's apparently only 120 millibuckets of UU matter. That's a nice surprise. It's 3 diamonds or 1 piece of iridium ore. Iridium ore is a far better deal. So then we can set our replicator to iridium ore, and then we can provide it with some of our UU matter here. In fact, I'm just gonna pipe directly into it. The internal buffer holds like 8 buckets or something, which is a truly ridiculously high amount of UU matter. But whatever. I'll hold 16 buckets. The reason I wanted some in the bucket earlier or in the tank earlier, was so I could place it down in the world. You can't withdraw from this slot. So once the UU matter is in the replicator, you darn well better use it up, because if you pick up the replicator at this point, you avoid everything in it. Alright, I'm going to set it on repeat run, which just has it make iridium ore until someone tells it to stop. These 16 buckets of UU matter, in fact I can probably turn this off now, never active. These 16 buckets of UU matter will produce about 130 pieces of iridium ore that is, and I think that's more than enough for the bridge. In fact, let's double check that. If I recall, it was a stack, right? Yeah, I need 64. So this will produce the way more iridium than we need in the immediate term, which is good. It takes it about, I don't know, like a minute and a half per piece if it has a steady supply of UU matter, which it won't, but it has enough for now. Anyways, we're also almost done with 4 pieces of Scenarium. That's good. Back to wiring this up. Excuse the dire wire here a little bit, but I think I've got our inscription setup done. So my goal for it was that I wanted a single point of input, that is a single active supplier module providing all the raw inputs to the system. So it's gold, pure Certus. We'll have to craft this offsite somewhere, but gold, pure Certus, diamond, redstone, and sand. That gets sent into a buffer drawer here, buffer set of drawers that distribute it between the various inscribers. So first, the sand comes into a segment where it gets turned into silicon. Without a grinding ball, you get about half a silicon per sand. Whatever, sand's infinite, good enough. From there, it gets distributed 3 ways to what will eventually be 3 inscribers. But these 3 inscribers stamp it and turn it into printed silicon. Then we'll set that aside for just a second. Then each of these other inputs, the gold, pure Certus, and diamond, each get piped into their own inscriber, where it gets stamped into, printed engineering or calculation or logic circuits. And then this is where the wiring gets really messy. So first of all, ignore the power. In fact, let's set it to item only mode right now. Each of these is on their own little subnet, so we can kind of ignore them. But because we have to put redstone onto the same network as each of these final products, then I can't put everything on its own, nice little conduit subnet. I have to start divvying into channels. All right, so on the white channel, we have diamonds. On the black channel, we have, on the white channel, we have printed engineering circuits. On the black channel, we have printed calculation circuits. And on the, I don't even know what channel this is, red channel, we have the gold circuits. Then each of those gets sent to the third inscriber. And remember earlier when I said the inscribers are strictly sided? This is where things get a little weird. For 3 inputs, you have to put them in 3 different sides. I turned the inscriber sideways so that redstone goes in the bottom of all 3. The silicon, printed silicon, goes in the sides of all 3 on the blue channel, and on the right side of all 3 specifically. On the left side, it's 1 color per, and that's what turns them into the final logic processor, calculation processor, and engineering processor. From there, they'll be piped into drawers, which are currently locked, but if we unlock them briefly, we can set them to the right type, and that is connected to our logistics pipe system with a provider module. So now we can access all of our processor types through the logistics system. As for power, let's turn this back to power mode. These basic inscribers, which one of these is power? These basic inscribers directly accept RF energy, which is pretty convenient. So I just have them, the energy is provided by a logistics chassis here. It doesn't look like these connect, like the pipe or the energy conduit looks like it's not connected to the chassis, but it works. It is actually connected. And perhaps rather obviously, I chose to use Ender IO conduits because they can share block spaces with Ender IO conduits. Very convenient. So anyways, this system automatically produces these various processors. It's a little slow right now because we're bottlenecked by the printed silicon, the silicon processor, because there's only 1 inscriber doing it instead of 3. But eventually, there will effectively be no bottleneck. Each of these inscriber tasks takes the same amount of time. It takes up to 3 overclockers if you want to make it a little bit faster. Although for now, because I don't actually have an infinite supply of either diamonds or pure Certus quartz, I don't, in fact, want it to be super fast. In fact, I might even put storage downgrades on some of these, so that, I don't need 32 stacks of calculation processors quite yet. Especially because I do need pure Certus for some other things, and it takes 16 hours to make at the moment. Turns out the storage upgrade that lets you downgrade a storage drawer to only hold 1 stack of items doesn't actually exist yet. Today I learned. Oh well, I guess I just have to set up pure Certus quartz automation before I use up the 2000 that I batch crafted, 10-ish episodes ago. Shouldn't be a problem. We just have to Well, I guess what I could do is once I have enough, I could just turn off the export here. Whatever. For now, let's check up on the status of our other processes here. So we have 5 pieces of sonarium done, and where was our mass fabricator? Here it is. And 24 pieces of iridium. So it looks like the sonarium is going to be our ultimate bottleneck. While we continue to wait for that very slow crafting to go, then let's make the various other components we'll have to do to support an ME system. So one thing we'll need is crystal growth accelerators, because these are what allow the Certus Quartz seeds and stuff to be grown in, say, minutes instead of hours. It takes up to 5 of them. It's well, I guess you could use up to 6 of them. They have to surround a water source block, but if you use 6 of them, it's very hard to actually put the items inside. I'm sure you could come up with a way, but the marginal value of the 6th one to me is somewhat low. It's easier to just use 5 and leave one side open to actually place items into your into that one source block. So let's make 5 of these. Do I have? I do not have fluix. Let's make a huge batch of fluix crystals. That is just throwing a whole that is left over. Nether quartz, charged Certus, and redstone into water, and it transforms almost immediately. Unlike the inscribers, these crystal growth chambers do not accept. So touching that, don't I? Do not accept RF power directly. They only accept energy through the AE system, so we can't actually power them yet. But this is generally how I set it up. 5 of them around a water source block, and then you want some way to drop items in, and some way to filter pick up items out. Now that we're getting close to having applied energistics, I also want to design this system such that it can be powered with either the logistics pipes or applied energistics, depending on where we are in the game. So, just input is a generic input chest that can be powered. Either system can put items in here. The items will be transferred from there to a open crate that drops up into the puddle of water here, where they grow, and then the final products are put up into a filtered drawer with a ender collector. So, say we drop some fluix seeds in here, right? After some amount of time, they'll transform into pure fluix crystals, at which point they get picked up. So the 3 recipes we'll be doing in here are fluix crystals, pure fluix crystals, and pure Certus crystals. Technically, you can make pure nether quartz as well, but I can't be bothered. I mean, we're going to have an infinite supply of nether quartz anyways. So unless there's a recipe that specifically requires the pure version, I'm probably not going to bother with it. Anyways, I suspect we've made enough resonant frames here. Oh, looks like that's a lie. I was going to say I suspect we made enough to make the last 2 inscribers, but I guess not yet. So at this point, it's just a waiting game. I'll wait probably about half an hour. I suspect that's about how long it'll take for this molecular transformer to finish. I did turn off the mass fab, right? The replicator uses a non-trivial amount of energy as well, though. By the magic of video editing, I was able to pass about half an hour in the last 5 seconds. So our replicator here has been running. We have over the stack of iridium we need. I'm going to turn this off so I can squeeze all the remaining energy into the molecular transformer, at least once this thing's internal buffer fills. Oh, I guess the replicator doesn't care about a redstone signal. I'll have it stop running then when it finishes the current piece of iridium. So we have enough iridium and 1 more piece of... Oh, I put the hopper here, but I need 1 more piece of sonarium, and then I think we'll be able to make our ME controller. Is it just me, or does this progress bar and this percentage not line up very closely? This progress bar looks way more than like 59-60% done, right? Am I crazy? I don't think I'm crazy. I think this looks like 70-80% done. I've gathered up all the materials, and now when I request a wrench, all it says it's missing is that last piece of sonarium, which is 93% there. Come on, I'm rooting for you. This bar is clearly 100% done. I think it's like the bottom of this weird UI element is actually where, like, the top and bottom is where the bar starts, not the insides. Whatever, that's a very minor critique. 97%, we're almost there. I'm so excited. applied energistics makes everything much easier in the game. 99 and 100. And there we go. All right. So I have a whole bunch more in queue. We're going to let that run for later. In fact, I'm going to turn all my processes back on. I'll turn you back on, turn you back on, and they're all going to compete for energy and run at whatever rate they run at. These various products, the Cenarium and Iridium ore, will be using that a fair bit more in the late game. So it's good just to run that process passively. Now, though, I should be able to request the Certus Quartz Wretch. And I specifically requested it off this table so we can look at the crafting progress. There's a lot of sub-crafting steps, and I'm really glad I don't have to take these by hand. It is pretty cool to watch like all the dots move around. I mean, that just shows, physically speaking, how close each item is to the machine that's supposed to do the processing. So at this point, we can see there's items that are on their way from the crafter to the smelter that does it, and it looks like the final product is on its way to us. Here it comes. Wait, not yet. Here. Oh, no, okay, it was going to the crafter, and now it's on the crafter to us. And here is our Certus Quartz Wretch. Aha. I suspect there's a trophy for this. Hello? Trophy? There's no trophy for this? Oh, that's a disappointment. Anyways, now that we have it, though, we can use it to craft the ME controller or the energy acceptor. I'm going to start by making one energy acceptor for our crystal accelerators. And the wrench is not consumed, so we can keep using it. And then let's make... oh, no. Oh, this doesn't understand. Never mind. Let's get some of our Skystone block. The plus button there doesn't understand that the wrench is not consumed. Where is my Skystone? Here it is. I was like, that's a lot of things to be missing. Anyways, put that away. Give me, you know what, give me 40 ME controllers. The engineering processors have to travel a little ways to reach us. Once we switch over to using the ME system for all of our crafting, though, I don't have to worry about item travel time anymore. Huzzah. Alright, so we have our 40 ME controllers. Let's go set up this one energy acceptor just to get this process going. Not that I'm using this system yet, but connect that there and give me one piece of cable. I guess one thing I will miss is that this pack does not have the wireless crafting wireless crafting terminal, so I won't be able to, and by extension, it doesn't have the infinite range wireless terminals, so I won't be able to have, you know, infinite range interdimensional remote order access. Oh well. Now these are, well, let's say offline. Why are they offline? They work fine if I use a ME controller, so I think it's just that the if I use the energy acceptor, I need an energy buffer to power them. But now I can grow the various crystals without taking 16 hours. That is quite the improvement. In fact, I think it takes like a minute or two. Significantly better than 16 hours. Anyways, that's all the time we have for today. So tomorrow will be the big episode where we, to some degree or another, rip out the logistics pipe network and replace it with applied logistics. I haven't quite figured out how much of this I'm going to keep as is and how much of it I'm going to replace, but we'll figure that out tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.